come most people, sustaining even nice chunks of recovery time, relapse again and again till we die unhappy, decades early. Is there a surefire relapse prevention method we seldom use? Haven't you heard? Utterly consistent, lifelong Alcoholics Anonymous work, right? It works for a full 5% of us. Then what do the other 95% need? What is that internal dialogue that results in our relapse beast winning the argument? You've played that game, bandied those lines, lost those battles hundreds of times. And what are the lines of cerebral debate that cause our recovery angel to kick that devil's butt? You've also practiced that very deliberate, masterful performance with brilliant success many times too. Now suppose you continued to practice eloquent versions of that critical argument for a few minutes each day. Wouldn't your best, healthy, practical, wise appeals and counters to self-abuse keep getting stronger and stronger at defeating your stupid temptations until you became invulnerable to relapse? Addicts. Recover forever. Relapse never. Hi, I'm Steve Race. I'm an RN, but I didn't learn how to beat drugs from nursing books or evangelists. I got my insights from folks like you who talked about their own search for abstinence and sobriety at meetings, classes, and rehab. Y'all, yeah, I'm a Texan, showed me that my intelligence, self-knowledge, courage, and self-control could soon become as successful as yours. I borrow from the hard-won wisdom of AA attendees, rehab teachers, and from Jack Trimpey's Rational Recovery. Always remember that no teacher or even divine authority can win your war for you. All that chemical dependency counseling, drug abuse therapy, meeting wisdom, and religious duty may eventually go in one ear and out the other. Then you must be ready every single day to take over and master your internal, instinctive, but genetically defective and confused, stupid, self-destructive addict, the beast, with your own practiced self-supervisor, 1,000 times stronger, smarter, more ethical, and loving highest human mind and spirit. Now, don't swallow all my speeches at once. Folks tell me that my bombastic energy can get fairly annoying. I do hope you'll enjoy us diving into the very problems and hopes you've long been working on. I'll just give you more snap, crackle, and pop. And enough critical addiction knowledge and fabulous sobriety inspiration to last you a long, heavenly lifetime, while blowing apart even the worst, most alluring temptations to dive off the wagon. Those crazy lies that eventually booby-trapped everyone else who tried way too hard to follow 100 fancy sobriety rules and doctrines, but never learned to easily, daily whip that dreary, deep, druggy dummy and show that pathetic punk who's always boss. On a personal note, I don't mean to, but with my loud voice, aggressive arguments, and heavy logic, I can come off like a highfalutin, superior smarty pants. Truth is, my recurring addictions have badly stunted just about every area of my ethical, professional, and family development that most of you value your own diligent advancement in. And I won't feel any better until you grab a couple of our ideas to help save your life. I tried my first addictive drug at 7, cigarettes. And 53 years later, I was still an active drunk and a deadly menace on the roadway. I'm as inferior a low-life cat as you're likely to find. Having learned way less than most folks about how to live decently, I'm jumping on the internet to teach you. Now that I've been off the sauce for less than 2 years, I'm the world's expert at relapse prevention. Okay, so I'm a joke. I just love ideas. I do come from a family of wonderful teachers. Well, now that my glass is empty for good, I've found a few dregs, not drugs, I can nurture. And most exciting of all, you are about to leapfrog way ahead of me. Many recovery pros imitate the faith-based amateurs, telling you to build a fancy new religion, philosophy, psychology, and utterly elegant behavior towards all in hopes of staying off the sauce, blow, shots, pills. Lousy hopes, they'll admit. They are the elite, the tiny minority whose elevation to stellar character wipes their slimy drug fiend right off the map. And you can do it too, just like every high school athlete who plans on a first-string professional career. Something's rotten in recovery Denmark. 1,000 lessons and a dozen relapses per victim vastly builds their cults, corporations, and careers, despite the paucity of happily ever afters. Nearly all of these kind souls are not in it for the money. Religion seems to be the common denominator. Dancing with helpless repeat customers is not their intent. An unusual elevation of character does boost some people's long-term sobriety, as does religious inspiration and devotion for a single-digit fraction of recovering addicts relying on heavenly domination. But there is such a more powerful, universal human solution for the giant pack, 20 million American addicts, of us ordinary chumps. Rational recovery for starters, and a simple daily exercise to nail it down. Recovery ain't sainthood, it's no more poison. Ever. Just listen to the 95% of undoctrinated amateurs who talk at meetings. They do discover astonishing new character, 90% achieved with determined abstinence and spiritual and rational self-empowerment, and maybe 10% with advice from other smarties. But what we all continue to struggle with, and most of us eventually and rather suddenly fail at, is defeating that final single challenge, rougher still than our last 100 temptations. At the moment of truth or terrible consequences, we count on classic recovery to the rescue. Say your prayers, call your sponsor, rush to a meeting, and get your 12-stepping butt back in gear. So will this keep summoning a winning, not losing battle against every irregular, white-hot, off-the-chart, but inevitable threat? Remember, you're getting little more than other personal or spirit guidance for an entirely inner, solitary conflict. Your own daily fighting power was seldom cultivated and rehearsed. No wonder millions die while thousands recover. Figure in alcohol's role in fatal dementias and heart, liver, and vascular diseases and multiple cancers and car crashes and addicts' vast other violent crimes. Booze and drug habits kill more Americans than anything else but cigarettes, gluttony, and sloth. All curable with precisely our talk's detailing of daily thought and behavior training. And what is this 10 times more personal and powerful than even the constant religious practice method? The quick, strong, simple, steady, sure way? The straight line, not the world tour, between no poison and ever? It is tremendous ideas. Not theirs, not mine, and not just his. Yours. Each 1,000 times more powerful, perfect, and thrilling than your subconscious, subhuman, scumbag drug punk ever dreamed of, or could possibly throw at you. Think 'em, then use 'em to practice whipping its sorry butt once a day, every day, for a measly few minutes. An incredibly happy guy named Thoreau put it nicely. Simplify, simplify. Well, duh. Most rehab is powerful, reasonable, proven mental health and healthy behavior tips mixed with fully insistent AA religion. Don't leave your nose in just one big book. 1,000 more also provide excellent, scientific, psychological healing plans, although many are also interspersed with sudden abandonment of your own power of intellect to instead turn your reason, will, and life over to supernatural initiative and authority, with no attempt to explain the clash of independent calculation with dependent faith, or reconcile their medical, mental, proven schemes to reassert high cortex judgments over toxic, genetically aberrant, confused midbrain drives, with AA's insistence that our power to recover can only be a magical, external, non-human miracle received from prayer, heavenly gifts, and self-abasement. Just as most of us respond to this oil-water mix with confusion and relapse, you may also learn to doubt cures as schizophrenic as addiction itself after the typical meetings, rehab programs, and books. Then try a couple of sobriety authors who at least manage to walk a straight line themselves, either science or religion. Most of us, including many happy Christians, find the vast majority of our loving inspiration and mental health within, without constant orders from God. By contrast, AA's 12 steps require total submission to and direction from an all-powerful authority that is not you, but is democratically, if rather slyly, 99% recommended to be God. So I searched for and found recovery teachers and students who steadily describe our own God within, burning with creative human biology and psychology, revealing active, new, sober rules of rescue, love, and survival actually derived from our own ancient, drug-free human nature. Yes, every single person of normal or overcomplicated intellect who strives, learns, and loves to care for themselves and others proves again that our created image is in God's image. Our created potential is in God's image. That our every talent, joy, and sacrifice for love is another of our own, very own natural and divine miracles of human kindness, wisdom, and happiness. So unless you are ruled by religion, investigate and implement your own brain science of progressive, healthy love. As you continue to abstain from drugs, keep thinking about how your mind's eye and your heart's desire should always conspire together to keep your commitment to life-saving abstinence rock solid. You should make good use of our videos just as I am recovering by thinking like you. Together, our loving, healing commonality can realize or activate virtually the same God who motivates the devoutly religious, only minus the separate, fully supernatural entity with total power and authority. Who can be sure that only God slays evil with a mighty, magical sword? But who can doubt that he or she helps us love ourselves and others with our will, capacity, and effort to make physical and human his or her divine spirit? To quote Jack Trimpey's small book, the central task in recovery is to help your rational voice of survival and personal gain grow in strength so that it may dominate the ruthless, commanding, and sometimes seductive, addictive voice that argues endlessly for intoxication. My videos plug how to always get this done. I persuade you and me to permanently continue training our powerful supervisor, our judgment and choice center, for a crucial few minutes every day to practice overruling instinctive, destructive desire so that compulsive, crafty beast's most powerful single lure in 5 years' time is still answered by our readiest, freshest, most fail and foolproof, and absolutely dominant smackdown. Because I never before thus armed myself against relapse, I've gone 5 years abstinent 3 times in my pathetic life, only to relapse for many more wretched years each time. Stay tuned for your opportunity to learn how to KO relapse for life from the planet's biggest little fool. Do most addicts attempt recovery, relapse, try again, relapse again, and eventually get it right and live happily ever after? Why, yes, you must believe, after internalizing the famous mantra of 1,000 confident, proud teachers, relapse is a part of recovery. Certainly, millions have succeeded after multiple attempts. Doesn't a certain similar video maker sound pretty damn cocky? So let no one tell you not to try and try again. But before you invite another relapse, without mortal fear, as 50 million fools on tombstones did, wake up while you can still smell the coffee. The vast majority of addicts relapse once too often and die, on average of 26 years early. Relapse is a part of recovery. Just like suicide is a part of life. The last part? Highly appropriate defeatism from rehab teachers who spend 60 minutes an hour on religion or psychosocial health, but 0 minutes insisting that you describe your drug beast's favorite danger moment lies to trick you into using again and making you rehearse every day your strongest, most critical, loving truths to counterattack and whip the bastard. They give you 100 ethical, practical, sane, sober ideas for general recovery inspiration, hoping against lousy odds that you'll always have 1 or 2 ready the particular moment that your drug beast winks at you. Well, it's one thing to bandy beautiful thoughts around a room full of sympathetic, encouraging, resolute people, and quite another to match wits and power later against your private monster, when you will either bat a perfect 1,000 average or instead quite possibly go on to die after destroying your family's happiness and perhaps killing or injuring other innocents too. Permanent relapse prevention for a tiny, tiny minority is God does it for me as long as I pray, worship, work the steps, and teach converts. The rest of us who succeed are not granted victory from duty, doctrine, or deity. We must develop, practice, and maximize our own personal abilities of powerful, perfect, poison-resisting strategy, targeting each laser-like against our own recognized, described, expressed internal threats. To win every single contest against your instinctive, drug-damaged, usually genetically flawed, primitive self, who can and will kill you by scoring a single point, the first dose of addictive poison, you must briefly but intensively train every day. No instructor, example, angel, or evangelist will ever do your heavy lifting. Hard as I try my loquacious little lectures without your little chores will just splatter away like water off a duck's back. No one but you will fully describe and prepare you against each evil weapon inside of you, or summon your unique experience, wisdom, pain, power, and love to always conquer them. As your opponent has damn near destroyed you from within, so you must go back inside alone and summon a new battle on your own terms of health and heart. I elaborate all the reasons to beat drugs to death, which ought to tickle you because you've thought of every one. Your wisdom and power is to fasten forever like a pit bull on your own history, future, and growing brilliance. So never shove yourself aside for some authority's selfless dogma. I invite you to make a quick daily effort, similar to Jack Trimpey's addictive voice recognition training. His Rational Recovery and Small book teach a brilliant natural historic method, acronym AVRT, to avert relapse. Entertain and express your druggy beast's voice in regular practice, to then bash that versatile opponent to the mat with your highest, most eloquent and effective truths, each perfect for crushing another of its particular lies. Forgive my wild excess of sports metaphors, but truly vital victory over your demon of compulsion is more exciting and fun than run and shoot college football. And look at the boxing champ. What's his secret? He trains with a sparring partner who's as fast and furious as some of his better contenders. My family includes fabulous, beautiful pianists. They practice hard every day. I'm a nurse. I teach my patients how to get to work on their own health every day. The doctor's helpless if you don't, I tell them. I'm also a trainer. I help athletes exercise for the power and speed to win. All those rehab teachers always tell you how to think and feel, but many of them don't crack the whip. You better walk, deep breathe, and eat better to knock out that pneumonia. Practice your scales and memorize your pieces, or you'll butcher your concert. Get your butt to the gym, pump that iron, jump in the ring, and challenge the baddest dude. Watch, dodge, and duck, work on your right cross and left hook until you finally put him down. Eat right, sleep plenty, and be back in the morning. Are you going to beat drugs 100%? Or delegate by putting some other boss or spirit in charge? Or will you exercise your power? Might you allow another relapse or 3 before putting your foot down? Maybe means no, you're not. So don't just temporize, fantasize, or philosophize. Exercise to realize. Only practice makes perfect. And total abstinence, minus even one fatal slip, requires your perfection. But relapse is a part of recovery. No, it's a part of unfocused, pessimistic, passive, spectator sport rehab programs. Relapse is also the fate of the vast majority tempted to try putting selfless religion in moral authority over their internal enemy. Do you have a severe drug or alcohol problem? If you're unable to indulge moderately and then stop, but instead feel compelled to slam the stuff for hours and days, weeks and months, years and decades, never satisfied nor sated for long, then you are a weak, unethical, immature person, right? Wrong. You're different, all right. Chemically, genetically different. Between 10 and 15% of us make a lot less dopamine, the happy chemical in our brains, in response to intoxicating drugs. A normal person makes lots from a few doses or drinks, gets happy real quick, but soon feels overloaded and naturally slows down or knocks it off. The genetic addict, however, pumps out just enough dopamine to feel tantalized, unsatisfied. Gotta keep slamming them just to catch half a buzz. Then chemical and psychological tolerance develop, and more becomes less. Then we jack a savage physical and mental poison from 5 shots to 25. For 2 million years, dopamine was our survival chemical. Those who produced the most in response to good food and great sex got happiest, jumped on more gazelles and girls or boys, lived longer, and had more kids who usually inherited their more powerful dopamine stimulus programming. The weaker dopamine gene, however, still hung around in 10% or so. Among technology's horrific changes was the discovery and distribution of intoxicating chemicals. The 90% strong dopamine secretors have enjoyed them ever since, frequently to excess and misbehavior, but they seldom approached compulsion unto death. But us underproducers who mess with these toxins are dead meat. Now, natural survival instincts react to a normal dopamine response like this. Lots of dopamine gets you good and happy. Subconscious joy rockets up to your conscious thought and decision departments, which reply, "Thanks for the fun. Good job getting it. Enjoyed plenty for now." But when your dopamine dwindles, along comes appetite, desire, need. Then, please, get me more meat, more sex, or more drugs, now. Let's contrast the relatively long-lasting surfeit of pleasure granted the normal, heavy dopamine responder to the crippled gene's savage addiction potential with an ancient example of desperate compulsion. When the caveman returns from the hunt with only a 2-pound baby fox and 2 families rip it to hair and bones in 30 seconds, the starving hunter then stalks for as many more days as it takes to fully feed everyone, especially himself. Even family members better not try and stop him. While dopamine sufficiency leaves you happy and content, constantly escalating dopamine deficiency, especially when you know just what, healthy or toxic, will bring back that glorious feeling you crave, you begin and cannot ever finish a desperate, savage, utterly unscrupulous hunt. The genetic addict, when in the grip of recent intoxicating drug ingestion, thus failing to enforce the cure of permanent abstinence, destroys his or her ethics, family, work, health, higher purpose, and then often life or lives, all for a chemically twisted lie. I need more druggy dopamine to survive, to feel good and be happy. Addicts by the millions occasionally recover their sanity long enough to realize the exact opposite, that only abstaining from poisons allows our survival and happiness. We can then summon incredible courage to halt our compulsive, toxic intake. Many of us continue to stay clean for months and years because physical craving and more slowly mental desire declines steadily the longer the chemicals are withheld. Most of us, however, continue to relapse because we eventually yield to psychological weakness or inability to always refuse drugs' deadly temptations. Often despite year after year of standard, sober mental health or religious instruction. Traditional rehab tells us to keep after a gigantic complexity of ethical, behavioral, and spiritual reforms every day, all day. However, only scant focus on introspective compulsion expression, confrontation, and overmastery is practiced. Your own major personal recovery lessons are seldom directed to opposing, then neutralizing your actual last-minute process of yielding to relapse. Want to live happily ever after? I'll help you. Stay tuned.